Shalom Aleichem. Today in the wide world of Mishnah Yomi, we are starting chapter 7 of Bava Batra, doing the first two Mishnah out here. Omer lechavero, someone says to his buddy, Beit kor afar ani mocher lach. I'm selling you a beit kor, that's the space that you would plant a core of barley seeds, of afar. Now, afar means dirt, like afar ve'efer, dust and ashes, as we see in Tanakh. That's what he's going to sell. He's going to sell dirt. Now, when he says the word dirt, that's important. This implies arable land, land that can be cultivated, can be farmed. So what if not all of this beit core could be farmed so easily? The Mishnah explains, Hayusham nikayim, if there's ditches, cracks, clefts in the ground, amuki masar tefachim, that have a depth of 10 tefachim, 10 hands breadths, slaim, or there's stones, little boulders, geveli masar tefachim, that are 10 tefach tall above the ground, einan nibdadin ima. Those are not measured towards the beit core. So the seller would have to give extra land to compensate for the deep ditches and the large boulders that are impeding the cultivation until there's actually a beit core of afar, of land that can be farmed. Pachot mikan, but if the ditches were shallow or the boulders were not so big, nimdodi nima, they would count towards the volume, towards the area of land rather, even though they are somewhat of an impediment to farming. The mamar lo, but if the seller had told the buyer, kiveit kor afar, I'm selling you about a beit core area of land for farming, even if there's very deep ditches, or large boulders, those would be measured. This letter ka as in kmo or kimat, ka is like, about. And about, even if these boulders are there, it's good enough. Now in the Gemara, they bring interesting cases, and there's actually pictures there in the Gemara. What if these boulders or ditches are in a circle formation or a V formation that really makes plowing, very difficult? So that might be a concern. It's only when the impediments are kind of scattered in a way where they're not all in a line or all in a row or all in a formation to make plowing and planting normally really impossible. Mishnah Beit continues this theme. Beit kor afar mocher lecha. I'm selling you a beit core of dirt, of land to farm. Mida bechevel, measured with a rope. Now, they used to use ropes of known length to do the measuring of the bounds of the field. So he's saying it's going to be measured precisely. No ke here. So the Mishnah says, pichet koshehu. If he reduces it even a little bit, yanake, he needs to reduce the sale price. Hoter koshehu yachzer, if he gives in a little bit of land when they go to measure it, a little bit of extra, then the buyer needs to give back the extra to the seller. Im amar hen chaser hen yeter, if he says, listen, I'm selling you a beit kor afar, but it could be, a little bit less, a little bit more, it's give or take, as we say banglit. Afilu pichet rova l'seya, o hoter rova l'seya, so even if the reduction, the what's lacking is a quarter kav per each seya, which ends up to be 1/24th, or there's extra 1/24th. Higiu means he gets it, means the sale does go through. So this more or less actually buys him about 4% discrepancy. Yoter mikon, but if it's a bigger discrepancy, yosei cheshbon, you need to make a calculation of the difference. Mahu machazirlo, and what should the buyer return to the seller when there's too much? Maut, he should actually return the money, not the extra land. V'imrotza machzir lekarka, but if the seller wants him to return the land, he should return the land instead of the extra cash value. V'loma amru machzir lo maut, and why did the sages say that the buyer should return money? Liyapot kocho shel mocher, to strengthen the hand of the seller, because what might happen is there might be just a shtickle extra, just a little bit extra, and that little bit, you can't really do much farming or gardening on that little bit, so it wouldn't really be fair if the seller sold everything in that area, he doesn't have anything next door, no adjacent fields, to give him back just a little bit that's not really useful, so we'd say in that case, we'd give him cash. Obviously, if the seller had a field next door to the field he sold, and there was a little bit extra, yes, you could give him back the land if the seller wanted to just attach it to his existing field. As the Mishnah explains here, really, she'im shir besode beit tisha kabin, if he left over, the extra left over is tisha kav, vagina beit chatzi kav, and for a garden, even half a kav, kedir Rabbi Kiva beit rova, if you're Rabbi Kiva, even a rova kav is enough for a small garden. Machazir lo hakarka, et hakarka, you could give the seller back the land, because now this is a useful size, he can actually do something profitable with this size. Im loy V'lo the rova bilvad, and not just the rova who machazir elet kol hamoter, but really all the extra size he should give back, and make it exact. A little bit here and there, 4% here and there, it's not a big deal. But once it's 5, 6, 7%, then don't just give him back 3%. So now there's 4% discrepancy. Go and clean up the whole discrepancy. Make a cheshbon, bo cheshbon, as they say. Once there's an issue, resolve the entire issue and give back or pay the extra value for the entire discrepancy. Tizkula mitzvot.